Cool. It looks like we got people from all over so far. I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds just to give people a chance to let us know where they're from. And then I will introduce our artist. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our artist so we can get this class started and you guys all have enough time to illustrate and draw today. So like I mentioned, I'm Michelle from Tombow, and we're so excited to have one of our brand ambassadors, Justin Teodora, teaching you how to illustrate using our ABT Pro markers. If you have any questions during the class at all, feel free to drop them in the chat section and I will do my best to answer all of your questions. And without further ado, Justin, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Oh, thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. So, yeah, I did the artwork on these ABT Pro kits. So I'm going to kind of use them and show you how I draw. So the first part I'm going to draw is with the basic palette. So it's this guy right over here. And I'm going to kind of draw kind of what I call my graphic doodle style. So it's kind of more of a free form, just I draw just for my head, like doodling basically. But I think the cool thing that I can show you using the pens is just how I manipulate them. So I think what I love about these pens are that they have this kind of brush tip, which is cool. So you can get more of a fine gesture line. And then they have this really nice kind of chisel tip, which gives more of a graphic feature. So I'll just show you how I start. So normally when I draw, I like to have another piece of paper underneath the paper I'm working with. It's kind of a trick I learned from a drawing teacher before, but it gives me nice padding, let's say, to draw with. And I think it's great to have this paper underneath because you can kind of test your colors on it. So yeah, what I love about these pens are the two points. So I think I'll show you the brush tip kind of gives a nice kind of fluid line, which I think is really great because I do a lot of fashion illustration. So I think this gesture is really important. And I think it's great. You can apply different pressures to it. So it gives you different thicknesses. So if you want to maybe just practice along with me just with the pens, I think it's kind of a great way to like a warm up, let's say. And then the nice thing about the chisel tip, it gives more of a graphic line, which I think is a nice complement to these finer lines. And I like to kind of use it like a variety of lines in my drawing. So I think it's great to kind of play with that manipulation. And the colors too on the ABT Pro pens are really great. So they give a nice pop feel. So I think that's why I'm going to use the basic palette set to create this kind of graphic doodle. So if you want to practice a bit more, I'll set myself up with another sheet of paper. So yeah, I kind of call this style like graphic doodle. So it's really just from my head. So I think you can follow me as I draw. You can draw something on your own. It's kind of for imagination. I kind of equated like doodling in your notebook when you're a kid. So, oh, what type of paper do I use? This right now is just, Sandy is asking, just a cardstock paper, white cardstock paper. But I use copy paper, any type of paper is fine. So I'll start with this pink. I usually like to start with an eye in my doodles. So it's fun to kind of manipulate the lines and gestures with the brush tip. And then the nice thing about these pens is you can kind of mix the colors and blend them almost like, I equate it to almost like painting a little bit. So I think this is kind of just, to me, this is kind of just a free form, relaxing type of drawing. So I think it's just you kind of let your mind wander and go as you create. So I think this is I wanted to start off this class with this type of drawing just because it gives you a bit more fun, freedom, and just kind of let your imagination go. The nice thing I like about these pens a lot is the colors kind of really saturate the paper. And then if you draw on top of a color on top of a color, it doesn't really bleed or create some sort of messiness. Like the colors kind of really stay intact. So I'll use the chisel tip. Maybe I'm going to pull this yellow, this color P025. I mean, my own style is I always add kind of faces into my drawings. So you'll kind of see these eyes and lips pop up here and there. But again, this is kind of how I'm doing, just kind of this free flow. So I think however you want to kind of interpret this kind of drawing is up to you. Sometimes I like to, if I use the more chisel tip pen, I go in, like draw against the line, if you can see, with the more of the finer tip, because I think it gives a nicer kind of like outline to the drawing. I'm going to try this orange color, this P925. I think you can kind of see which, again, that's another thing I love about these pens is like the kind of consistency of the colors as you kind of glide along the paper. Yeah. Sometimes when I find myself drawing, I think I kind of splash all the colors onto the paper and maybe it gets a little overwhelming. So I always kind of go back with a darker color to, again, give a bit more of an outline. So I'm going to use this blue, this P555, and then just kind of, just kind of go into where I feel like there needs to be a bit more definition in the drawing. And again, this kind of drawing, again, just have fun with it. I think that's kind of, it's, to me, it's therapeutic to draw like this, to kind of, there are no rules, and it's just you kind of exploring what comes out of your hand through the pen onto the paper. So I kind of do drawings like this sometimes in the morning, just to kind of loosen myself up, or before I have to maybe do like a particular drawing. It kind of gives, warms me up for whatever drawing I need to do later. Kind of gets your hand moving, your the gestures in motion. So maybe I'll mix in some purple just to give a bit more of a texture. So this is color P636. Yeah, I'm just looking at the my camera view on the Zoom, and you can see the colors are really kind of great and saturated, which is what I love about these pens. And I think I look, when I describe it, it's almost like painting with them. You can kind of blend the colors in together, but what is nice about them is that they don't kind of get messy or blotchy, so it keeps a cool, really cool, crisp graphic quality that I love. So, I mean, I think what I want, sometimes when I do, and I'm kind of feel like I'm done with a drawing, is maybe add a little black to it. Again, it's kind of layering everything into the artwork. So when I do this part, it probably feels like it's towards the end. So I think it's just, again, giving a bit more definition. And then maybe I can kind of draw in the faces that I kind of casually or see hidden in the drawing. I use the chisel tip to give a bit more of a well, I mean, I think this is pretty much done. So this is kind of a first graphic doodle drawing I did with you guys. So yeah, again, this type of drawing, I don't think it's anything that has to be perfect or exact. To me, it's more like a warm-up exercise, especially because we're going to kind of do more specific drawings next. So kind of anytime you do something like this, just kind of use it as kind of a free form, keep it loose, keep it fun. I get, definitely with these pens, you can play with different brush strokes and line qualities, which is nice. And then colors too, you can kind of play with mixing them up. So I hope you guys enjoyed this part. So again, this was with the basic palette set. So I think this is a great set. I mean, when I got the set, I did the graphic doodle my style, because I think it's such a, the colors are so pop and great that I think it's kind of a nice way to, this style lends itself to this palette set. So I'll hold it up here for you guys to see. So the next set of drawings I want to do for you, I think are kind of more precise, let's say. So I'm going to use the people palette sets. And from that, you can guess we're going to do a portrait series. Again, these are illustrations that I did. So I'm going to show you kind of how I approach portraits. So this part I think is more, I'm working from an actual image I pulled online. Again, it's whatever image you have. I kind of pulled some fashion cover magazines that I'm going to draw from. So I think this is more specific to whatever you find. So any image you want to work from of a portrait of a person, you can work from and I'll kind of show you how I approach portraits. And again, using the ABT Pro pens, which are great for just blending and coloring in. So I'm doing the same technique I did before of having a piece of paper underneath. Just again, gives me some sort of like nice sense of line. So I chose a fashion illustration portrait, a magazine, a Vogue magazine cover. But again, I think anyone can use any image they want, if it's a family member or a self-portrait. So it's nothing has to be too specific. So when I do portraits myself, I always start with the eyes. I just find if I can nail the eyes, I think everything else kind of falls into place. And again, my style of drawing, it's not portraiture. I think it's more of a illustrated, stylized drawing. So just kind of, I think it's great. For me, learning how to draw, I think it's always nice to see how other people, just seeing other people do their work. I think it kind of gives you hints and inspiration. So hopefully I can kind of share little tidbits with you. So I'm going to start with the eyes. I'm using just a black P915. I always find if I get the eyes, I can kind of, everything else will fall into place. So I think I have it, and then just work my way. I think I remember when I was a kid, I think I would just kind of, I think I had sketchbooks just of eyes. So I think I became kind of obsessed with however I could draw eyes, and you could tell even my graphic doodle drawings, I have eyes in it. So I think it's kind of a motif for me. Let's start with work way down. Whenever I kind of do portraits, I always start in black just to kind of obviously give the outline, but then I kind of just do quick little line gestures because it kind of, I always approach it kind of giving you kind of a roadmap as to what the face is. And then as you add the colors, again, you can kind of build on that.
Hey, Justin.
Yeah.
I think a few people might have a little bit of trouble seeing when you lean over a little bit.
Okay.
When you're drawing, just your head kind of covers
Oh,
like
okay. Sorry
portrait.
about that.
Yeah, just beware of that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for calling that out. Okay. So this one, she has a kind of a turtleneck over it. I'm going to kind of use the chisel tip just to kind of give more And then I'll kind of go into her hair next. I think I'm going to use a chisel tip again, just kind of, it gives a kind of quick, kind of illustrated gesture, which I think kind of works for hair. Okay, so I feel that I have kind of the face down. I'm going to start building in the color. So I usually kind of start with color, especially when I'm doing a portrait, like lightest to darkest, so you can kind of blend into it. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, approaching how you do, like if you do makeup or anything, you need a foundation, and then everything else kind of you'll build into it. So again, this is why I have this paper underneath it, just to kind of, I think I can kind of test the colors out. You see makeup artists, they put the color on their hands. I think having this paper here kind of gives you a way to test out the colors. So I think maybe for this one, for this portrait, I'm going to start with this color P910, just to kind of give a bit more of a highlight to her face. Again, I'm using the more of the brush tip just to kind of give a finer line. I think just to kind of fill in a little bit. And then next I'm using P850. Slightly different shade, but just to kind of give more, again, kind of more highlights. So I think in my portrait, I think, again, with the eyes, giving some definition. So at the eyelid, so I'm going to use this color P942, just to kind of, treat it like makeup, I guess, just blend a little bit in. And a little under the eye too.
Hey, Justin,
Yeah,
can you slow down just a tad?
sure.
Thanks.
So next I'm kind of pulling P977, just again, kind of giving a bit more color to the eyebrows. So I'm using right now this color P969. And then when I fill in the color of the eyes, I always kind of just naturally leave a little bit of white at the top of the eye, just because it gives a bit more of that light coming off of the eye, just to so I don't fill in the eye, color in the eye all in. I think having a bit of white at the eye just gives a bit more of a natural light and kind of gives that emotion. So I think I'm gonna add a bit of pink to her now, just because her should makeup. Actually might steal this pink color from the basic palette set. So P743, just see how it is, maybe for the lips. And sometimes I find, again, this is always why I have this paper here, just so I can kind of play with blending the colors as I go along. I think to add a bit more of definition to the lips, I'm going to use this color P873. And that this color comes from the People palette set, by the way, just to kind of give a bit more definition to the lips.
Hey Justin, what color did you use for the highlights in her hair? Do you remember by any chance?
Well, I haven't started the hair yet, so
Just like, or sorry, the highlights kind of like on her face.
yeah,
That
so I used colors P850 and P910.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go back with the black a little bit just to kind of add a bit more definition to her eyes. So now I'm going to start with her hair. So, I mean, this picture, the model has kind of a dusty blonde brown hair. So again, I'm going to kind of use this paper underneath to kind of match the colors as at best. So I think right now P77 kind of works. So I'm going to put that to the side. But again, there's kind of highlights to this. So I think I'm going to mix a bit more colors in. So I'm playing right now with actually also P992. And then again, to make sure there's some more of a definition, I'm going to see how P879 works. Cool. So I think those three colors are what I'm going to use for her hair. So again, they're P992, P977, and P879 from the People palette set. So I'm going to start again with the lighter color. I think I'm going to use the chisel tip to kind of give more of a quick gesture to the hair. Next, I'm going to go into it with P977, using more of the finer brush tip. And then I'm next going to try the P879, the darker brown, to kind of give more of a little bit of definition. So I think I'm going to take the P915 black just to in the hair to give a bit more finish. So I think that she's pretty much almost done. So I'm going to kind of finish with her sweater detail. So her sweater is kind of this light pink. So again, I'm going to kind of mix some colors in together. So right now I have P800. And I'm going to take P873, again, kind of test them how they work together. So I think those are good to start off with. So I'm going to use P800. Again, using more of the chisel tip just to kind of create the base color. And then I'm going to go over it now with P873. Using more of the finer tip, the brush tip, just to kind of give more of a lightness, because their sweater is kind of this, looks like a fuzzy mohair. So maybe let's see how this P977 works. I might try that just to kind of give a bit more of a texture. I think she's done. So yeah, that's how I kind of do a portrait. Does anybody have kind of more specific questions they'd like to ask me, or any kind of comments in the chat, just to kind of how I do the portraits? Because I pulled another portrait I was going to draw for you that I could do more of like a skin tone option. So
I think that would be great. We have some time, so
yeah,
it would be cool to see another version.
yeah, cool. So get the picture. So again, any picture you find can work. So again, I'm going to start with the eyes. I mean, if you kind of see how I'm drawing, I guess when I first do my outlines, I kind of have this kind of quick flickering motion with my pen. I think it's kind of just to kind of figure out the placement and kind of at least create some sort of, to map it out, to map the face out. So once I have her eyes, I'm going to kind of work on her eyebrows next. Again, like I said, I always start with the eyes. I feel if I have that, it kind of sets the tone if I capture the portrait as I want to. So I'm going to switch to the more of a chisel tip pen just to kind of get the hair. So now that I have the face kind of outlined, I'm going to do the same thing and just kind of start building on the skin tones. So I think I'm going to start with this P992. Maybe start with the chisel tip just to kind of color in the face, just to kind of, again, give a bit more of a definition. So I'm going to test playing with this P977. I think that I'll use this to kind of, create a bit more, keep using the word definition, but just to kind of build the face up a little bit. Now I'm looking at her eyes, so I think I need to get a little bit darker. So I'm pulling in P879. I mean, I already drew her eyes in as black, but I think adding a bit of this brown kind of will give a little bit of a nice touch to it. And then I'm going to pull a color from actually the basic palette set, this P245. Because I think she has a little bit of a green eyeshadow makeup. So mixing this in. And then now looking at it, that maybe adding a blue, again, pulling from the basic palette set P555. Now I'm kind of want to add a bit more to her face. So I'm going to pull P852 and kind of use the chisel tip to kind of draw along what I guess are her kind of facial features. And I'm going to work on her lips a bit here. So this color is P873. I kind of pulled again P852 just to kind of give a more of a neutral touch to the lips. I'm going to kind of tackle her hair a little bit here. So I'm going to use the darker brown P879. Whenever I do hair, again, I tend to use the chisel tip part of the pen because I kind of mimic, and I do these kind of quick strokes, which kind of, I feel mimic kind of a movement of hair. So now that I did the hair, I think, again, I always kind of, again, build color onto color. So I'm going to take actually this black P915 and just do the same thing, just kind of maybe now with the brush tip, kind of do this kind of what I call like a quick flicker hand gesture dance movement over. Because when you kind of do this gesture, I find over the color you build on, especially when you're drawing hair, it kind of gives a feeling of, yeah, you can see the different strands of hair and more of a definition to it. And sometimes, again, looking at the hairline, you take the kind of the brush tip, I kind of do these little smaller flickers of the pen just to kind of give a little bit more of a, whatever that is, when the hair is kind of close. I'm still using the same P915 black. So I'm just kind of pulling another color right now. I'm pulling P942. Just because I feel like I still need to add a bit more color to her. So again, using the chisel tip, I'm kind of doing these broad strokes. And I guess when I do the chisel tip and kind of draw on the face for color, I try not to do it, if you see here, just straight lines like that. I kind of draw just, if this is the forehead, kind of along the shape. So it kind of gives a bit more of a definition. Just kind of filling her in a little bit here and using the chisel part of the pen. Try not to draw just like a straight line across her face, just kind of give a little bit of movement, let's say. Now that I did that, I'm gonna think the finishing touch I'll try to do is just give a bit more of a warmth to her. Because I think I used P942 just to kind of give more of a base color. I think I'm going to try P873, more of the fine tip pen, fine point, the brush point, and then kind of, again, do this just along, say, like the cheeks, and maybe her nose. I think I kind of want to go over her eyebrows a bit. And then I'm going to use, again, pull the black P915, and then kind of do that same flickering gesture like that, which I think kind of gives a sense of more of like, fineness for hair. And then I think her eyebrows just give a bit more definition there. I guess I always end my drawings by adding a bit of black to it when I finish it, just to kind of finesse it. She has earrings here, so I think I'm just gonna quickly do some squiggles there just to kind of place them. And maybe I'm gonna just do one final little touch just around her eyes. So I kind of pulled P977 just to kind of give a little bit of color underneath her eyes. And maybe just pull the black again, sorry. Whenever I draw, I just kind of keep going back and forth until I feel it's done. So I think that's how anyone can approach their drawing. Just, you're the one who knows when it's done. Just kind of maybe add a bit more gestures to her hair. There's kind of, if you can see, there's more of a curl, I guess, to this side. So I'm kind of doing a brush stroke like this, if you can see. Again, just kind of mimic the movement of hair. And then, yeah. So I think I could keep going, but I think she's somewhat done here. So that's my second portrait of the night using the People palette set. So these were the two I did today, just so you can see how it all looks. Cool. I mean, hopefully, I think hopefully just watching me draw, just hopefully give you some pointers and tips. I think that's how I learned how to draw myself, was just by, watching people draw and just kind of seeing how they, how they approach the work. But yeah, I think especially what I wanted to start off doing the kind of graphic doodle drawings. I think that's kind of a fun, just get it, warm up and get your hands loose and just kind of, before you kind of more tackle more of a portrait work, which I based off these fashion images, but I think you can work off any images you find. So, start off with a graphic doodle, just doodle into your, onto paper, just have fun with it. And then hopefully that'll loosen you up to kind of tackle more of a portrait if you're drawing yourself or your family. I think, your hopefully your hand will be loosened, ready for that. So yeah, I hope that was a lot of fun. So thanks again to Tombow Michaels for inviting me to lead this class, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thank you.